Good morning, good day, and good time of the day to everyone who is joining us today for a refresher webinar on our newest UK-based partner, TEDI-London. We will be speaking today about TEDI-London, the future of engineering, and everything this wonderful institution has to offer to the students. I will give 30 seconds to our agents to join us. And while we're waiting, just a kind reminder, please throw all of your questions into Q&A box, especially Q&A, because we're very eager to remember all of your questions and catch them as fast as we can during the presentation. Please stay with us for the duration of the presentation. We will be finishing with a Kahoot with interesting prizes, so please do stick around. And I hope that you will enjoy this information and this news and updates as much as we have since we started working with TEDI-London. With this in mind, let me slowly start talking to you about TEDI-London. So my name is Valentina. I am the head of recruitment for CIS and Europe, but for the intent of this conversation, I am your TEDI-London recruitment lead, and I'm here to answer all of your questions about this exciting partnership. I would say that I'm going to use this opportunity also to remind you about who we are here in Kaplan Pathways. We are, as you know, a very big provider, but for our UK partnerships, we have 16 different wonderful partners. And out of this pool, only 2 partner institutions offer direct entry into year 1. And this would be TEDI-London and University of Birmingham. And out of those 16 different partnerships, we have 7 Russell Group partners, and we are incredibly proud of that as well. Just a small reminder, that's University of Birmingham, University of Bristol, University of Glasgow, University of Liverpool, University of Nottingham, Queen Mary, and the University of York. This was just a tiny reminder before we move again to what really matters, and that would actually be what the students think about TEDI-London. This is a tiny testimonial I wanted to use to kick off this presentation, because what students think probably is the most important part of what we all work on. And that is Zainab, who already started her education, and just to give her an opportunity to share her words. If you have any issues hearing, please let me know, and I will try to tweak something, but it should be okay. I'm sorry. Oh.
I'm Zainab Ahmed, and I am studying Global Design Engineering at TEDI-London. I wanted to study design engineering because, as cheesy as it sounds, I wanted to make a difference. All the governments right now are trying to find ways to fight climate change, and I would really love to take part and be a part of that whole movement. Because TEDI-London is so diverse, it's not one engineering that we're studying, is like a global design engineering course. We're doing little bits of every single field in engineering. So I feel like it's going to be a very good stepping stone to get into engineering and hopefully get my chartership.
I think testimonials like that are incredibly important, because when it comes to our students, what they choose for themselves and what they want to achieve through their education is exactly what all of us are working on and for. And seeing students who are happy with their choice, and Zainab is already with the institution for a few years, is a testament that she made the right choice and we made the right suggestion. Speaking about TEDI-London, Zainab mentioned global design engineering, and this is the degree TEDI-London offers. So they offer 2 options within this degree. They offer a traditional BNG, 3-year-long degree, and they offer an option with an integrated master's. It's MNG, a 4-year-long degree. To remind you all, the most important part here is that we offer direct entry into the undergraduate level. So this is something that we only offer through 2 of our partnerships. Like I said, one is University of Birmingham and another one is TEDI-London. You might be asking a question as to how we got introduced to TEDI-London. The initial introduction was made through one of our partners, who all of you are very familiar with, I believe, and this is Arizona State University. ASU has been our partner for a number of years. And if you have been working with us for a while, you know that one of the biggest rankings associated with ASU is that it's #1 in the United States for innovations. For this year, already 7 years going on 8. And ASU has been famous for its unique and interesting ideas in the fields of sustainability. And this is indeed very much reflected in the future goals of TEDI-London. But ASU is not the only founder of TEDI-London. There are 2 more famous institutions. The second name is something you're definitely also aware of, and this is King's College London. I think everyone present here knows who King's College is, but if we were to use one number, it would be top 37 in the world based on QS World University rankings. And the third name that is probably for some countries a bit less known, but again, it's a tremendously famous and strong academic institution. It's UNSW in Sydney, top 45 again in the world. All of these 3 institutions really care about the future of engineering and impact the engineers of the future would have at solving the problems of that future. So the idea of TEDI-London started with an organization called Plus Alliance, where the said institutions thought about creating a more diverse, more creative thinking institution for students who don't only want to get a paper out of their degree or a bit of a more non-practical education, but for students who want to be problem solvers of the future. And this idea became the foundation of TEDI-London. It is important to go through what I call brass tacks of any kind of institution, any kind of basic explanation. Like I said, the qualifications that are offered through TEDI-London would be the Bachelor of Engineering, the regular 3-year degree, or the option with integrated Masters of Engineering. It is important to reiterate, and I pardon my repetitions, I'm a very repetitive person in this regard, we offer direct entry, and it would always start with year 1. There is no opportunity to start your education here through Masters. You would always be starting through year 1 of Bachelor's. The degree is awarded by the Engineering Design Institute London, TEDI-London, and TEDI is located in the Canada water. So this is incredibly close to the KICL, our college in London, and I will show you specifically how far we are from TEDI-London on a separate slide. Spoiler, we're not very far from them. And it's important to note that the fees are 24,500 for 1 year of education. This might sound like a daunting amount, but it's very important when we speak about the price of education to speak about the scholarships. TEDI-London understands that this is a big amount to pay for your education, and they have been incredibly sensible and sensitive with the scholarships they offer to students. The current scholarships go up to 50% of each year of your studies. This scholarship, and I need to reiterate this point, is renewable year after year. To put it simply, apologies for the sounds. To put it simply, the maximum scholarship can be up to £49,000 throughout 4 years of your education if your student chooses an option of doing the integrated masters. Renewable scholarship is not very common for UK institutions, and this is something TEDI-London is very proud of. It is crucial to remind the students that, of course, there is an expectation of excellent grades. We do expect the students to be academically gifted, to have ideas, to have motivation to study, to be ready to show that motivation through the documents submitted. And if your students are eager to try and secure a 50% scholarship, which of course is not given to every student. Like I said, the scholarships go up to 50%. So it could be 10%, it could be 20, etc. If your students want to try and get a 50% scholarship, they would need to submit an essay, which would be answering questions about the future of sustainability, the future of engineering, the ideas that would be changing the world in the next 10, 20 years. If your student is eager to try and submit such an essay, please indicate this when you submit an application, and my colleagues in the admissions department will be sharing with you the questions for said essay. I know scholarships are always an area of questions. I can see that there are questions coming through Q&A. Please drop them there. We'll return in the end of the presentation. I will answer everything I can about scholarship and, of course, everything else. There could be a question of why would students study global design engineering? And what I generally say is that there's always a question, global design engineering, what is that exactly? I will show you exactly what the students study on a separate slide, but it's important to remember that global design engineering is an area that covers a lot of different engineering options under a general umbrella, so to say. So your students are very much able to study a little bit of mechanical engineering, a little bit of civil engineering, a little bit of electrical and electronic, etc., under the same general umbrella. And then if they decide to study, say, just electronic engineering on their master's level, they would be able to go specifically into this field, while global design engineering is something that puts all of that together and prepares the students in all of those regards. The reason why so many students choose engineering in general these days is simply that there is a huge need for qualified engineers within the UK. The estimated annual shortage of engineers in the UK is about 50,000 people. So, to put it simply, for students who are eager to secure an internship or use the graduate route for the 2 years of the allowed employment within the UK, this is a great opportunity to feel a bit more secure about your professional future. And of course, the salary. It is always a good element to know about. And I think it's important to say that this is raw data from totaljobs.com. The average salary for a design engineer in the city of London is on par with 69,000 pounds, which is a very nice salary for an engineer in a big city like London. It's also really important to say that admissions process in TEDI-London is quite holistic. They understand that students are very different, and all of them can come to an understanding that they want to be engineers. Not necessarily at a very starting point of, choosing an A level, for example. It could happen a little bit later, and an understanding of those different walks of life that take the students to a decision to choose TEDI-London means that the academics presented can be very different. TEDI-London is trying to be as flexible as they could possibly be, and we do see very different academics coming in. So if you are not sure about whether your student is acceptable for TEDI-London, admissible, I would say is the correct term, apologies, please do let us know. Speak to your marketing managers, or we will speak to admissions for you, and we would be able to explain to you if this student would be admissible or not. We are here to give everyone a chance to be able to assess as many different document packs as possible. So what kind of student would be the happiest in TEDI-London? First of all, it is the student who is interested in the hands-on and practical experience. A big chunk of what is studied inside TEDI-London is project-based. And this is basically an opportunity for students to understand and implement practically everything that they learn every week. I will show you exactly how it works on the next slide, but everything that they learn non-practically, they implement practically straight up immediately after this is something that is learned. Secondly, the concept of project-based learning goes hand in hand with having a lot of different industry partners, where the industry partners are the ones who support the projects. Everything that is a project for students is something that is very much supported through the industry with materials, with ideas, through every possible way, and the students are left with understanding what an acting company in the UK wants to see in an employee, what kinds of tasks and challenges are they're faced with day after day. Of course, another important element is that TEDI-London is very eager to create a diverse study environment for men, women, people of color, everyone who is underrepresented currently within the engineering community. And an interesting element here is that TEDI-London doesn't require a student to have an A level in math or physics. Neither do they require students to have any specific preparation in that dedicated area, which means that a student who, for example, is studying A level currently and decides to study global design engineering during the last year of A levels, it means that the student will still have a shot with TEDI-London. I promised to show you a little bit on what exactly project-based learning is, and I will be sharing with you one of the prototyping projects within TEDI-London during the first year of study. This shows you that every project within TEDI-London is broken into steps, and each step reflects any given area of engineering, thus allowing the students more practical understanding of what exactly takes a project from a number of materials onto a functioning element. And this is, of course, one of the goals of the institution. It is important to speak a bit about admissions. We do have, of course, a separate department where my colleagues would be a bit more apt in discussing this with you, but I will do the best. The important thing for TEDI-London is to choose the students with right attitude, aptitude, and ability, which doesn't have to be expressed in any particular set of documents. Like I said, there is a desire to offer a space for unusual students to learn, to find the correct way of studying. But if we're looking at the most traditional possible documents, TEDI-London wants, and if we're speaking about A levels, they want BBB, which would be 120 UCAS points. And of course, there are local qualifications that have been approved. If you are ever in doubt about what is your local qualification accepted, please reach out to your marketing manager. They would be happy to explain this to you and give you examples of what is accepted. In terms of maths, if we do in fact have a student who has an A level, an equivalent of C or above would be expected, but there is also an opportunity, of course, to not need this A level or any A level for that matter, through doing a math test or a math refresher. About this on the next slide. And something that is very important, we do need those students to have an IELTS UKVI on the level of 6.5 with no less than 6.0. Sadly, we do need specifically IELTS UKVI. We cannot accept IELTS academic or any other test. We understand that it could be difficult for some of those students. So in case you see that your student sees this as a barrier, please flag this to us and we will try to offer something, say a compensation as a part of a scholarship for taking IELTS UKVI to move those students from the stage of interested to the stage of fully committed to TEDI-London. So what exactly is an option of doing a math test or a numeracy test or a math refresher? For students who don't want to do any particular test, say A level in math, what they can do is opt into any one of those two options. The math test is actually quite normal, traditional, nothing unusual here. It's a Pearson test. The student can do it online. It assesses students' ability to learn, their ability to retain math knowledge, the basic math concepts, etc. For students who actually remember a lot about math, but they want to do a bit of a refresher, there is a 12-hour long online refresher course. It is fully done online. It's broken into 4 parts that stand for the 4 most important preparation areas within math. And it finishes off with an hour-long online test, which basically allows the students to estimate their level of math knowledge, as well as for the university to understand what kind of student levels they are faced with here. So no need for a traditional A-level here. There are two alternative options. There is another interesting element within TEDI-London admission and application process, and that would be the applicant day. The applicant day is something that the students are invited to attend after they have already submitted their documents. So the initial academic assessment is passed, but TEDI-London also considers other elements to students' admission, not just academic aptitude. So applicant day can be done in person for the students who are in the UK and online for the students who are not. I'm assuming most of us will be in the second scenario with students being online. For in-person applicant day, the students start with a group challenge, which allows the academics to see their desire to be problem solvers, as well as for students to see the maker spaces, the labs. And the second part, of course, is a short interview. The idea behind the applicant day here is generally for the academics to see the level of students and their desire to solve problems and get their hands dirty, and for the students to see the facilities, even if it's online, and be able to communicate with academics. So the similar stuff could be happening online, but here the students start off with a short presentation. The goal of said presentation is to show your motivation to study. So applicant day is something that brings the students to the further confirmation of their offer. And this is usually the moment when we would encourage the students to pay their deposit, which is £4,000. So I'm conscious of time, so I would be showing you a few smaller elements about TEDI-London. This is the first floor of the TEDI-London dedicated campus. You can see the general student area here. And on the second floor, more to the left, you would see a lot of labs where the students do projects. They're very different depending on which project is done. And usually projects are done in a group setting, 4 or 5 students working on something for sometimes a short period of time and sometimes the whole semester. A small quote that was one of the inspirations behind the creation of the Institute. According to a report published by Dell Technologies and authored by the Institute for the Future, 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 haven't even been invented yet, which means that teaching students strictly based around the old textbooks and non-practical education probably wouldn't prepare them for the future employment that well. So the true goal here could be actually preparing students to have the skills they would need to professionally develop year on year, versus just giving them, non-practical education. Why would it really matter to develop the engineering workspace? How would it implement our day-to-day life? For example, if we look at the study that was conducted before COVID in 2017, said report confirmed that the standard male face masks don't really fit a lot of different faces, which means that everyone who is not male in this environment working struggled with using this equipment day to day. And every industry that uses a mask day to day, and that would easily involve everyone in the medical field, needed to actually be fitted for something else, or they needed to suffer through uncomfortable equipment. Thinking that those people help, citizens every day, and they have to also struggle with equipment, makes you believe that this is not necessarily right and needs to be changed. The same goes with the something that was quite a shock and an eye-opener for me when I learned this information, that the most commonly used crash test dummy is 1.77 centimeters, and this crash test dummy weighs about 76 kilograms. And every time there is a new car tested, this is the dummy being used, which means that everyone who doesn't fit this criteria, and this is a part of women, of course, we don't really know how, sadly, a car crash would affect a female body here. So this is a scary thought for anyone who drives, who's a female, who doesn't really who doesn't really fit into said, criteria of size. Again, something that probably happened because not enough women were present during the creation of said dummy. Another goal of TEDI-London to change, excuse me. And some data that was collected throughout the COVID already, the emergency services, throughout them, only 5% of women said that they are comfortable with the personal protection equipment being used. Everyone else confirmed that their day-to-day activity and desire to help people was hindered by the body armor, the step vests, because the sizing wasn't correct to, well, their size, of course. Sorry for repeating. Those three situations impact everyone probably who is listening to me right now to one degree or the other. And the fact that we would need to be changing something like this also means that the education needs to change to follow suit. Something that is incredibly useful for the students of TEDI-London, of course, is the industry connections. And now on the slide, you can see the companies that are active partners of TEDI-London in terms of the equipment, projects, the curriculum that changes to adapt to what is needed from engineers year on year. And probably some of those names are very well known to yourself, but British Land, Transport for London, American Express, all of those industries happily look for a new generations of engineers. I promised to show you what exactly the students study. So as you can see from this slide, they study all different types of engineering, everything from prototyping into the ecological design. And all of this is created specifically in this way to be able to use all of those different tiny pieces of information that are actually used every day by engineers. I remember an interesting example shared by the colleagues that an engineer is expected to be able to fix the problem, not to know which page in which book speaks about fixing that problem. And this is exactly the approach to creating curriculum that actually made it as practical as you can see it on this slide. This is a typical weekly structure of studies for TEDI-London students. It's important to say that independent study and learning through no work is something that is very heavily included into students' day-to-day life. And if you feel that this allows the students to potentially skip on some classes, this is not the case. If the student hasn't learned what exactly he or she needed to learn in the morning, they really wouldn't be able to implement it in the makerspace activities, which is lab work. So everything that is learned is implemented. And thus, it's not really possible to skip on a lot of studies. You need to constantly be studying to be able to implement. And like you've seen on the example of the robo vacuum, you really wouldn't be able to, for example, start making a sensor if you haven't learned about that sensor. And this is a step that's followed by something else. If your student is hesitant to be assessed as a part of the group because they are better in individual work, they really shouldn't be worried. The students are assessed on the multitude of different things. They're assessed on the group projects, on pitches, on creating websites, on demonstrations, on presentations, on creating videos. There are so many different things they can do to be seen as a good student. They don't really have to be just good in group projects. It is literally so many different things that they could potentially be doing right here. So please let them know that their desire to work more individually would still be successful here. A small snapshot of the current professors. It's important to say that TEDI-London believes that every representative of academic staff needs to be aware of the current trends in engineering. These people need to be professors, they need to be somebody who practices, maybe somebody who has their own business in this area, somebody who is actively involved in the development of the engineering field. And well, those professors are very much so. For those of your students who ask you what they can do after they've completed their degree with TEDI-London, if they decide to go for a master's degree outside of TEDI, they can definitely go, and this is just a snapshot, not the whole list of different masters, of course. They can go into biomedical engineering, sustainable energy, environmental engineering, mechanical engineering. Like I've said, they can dedicate themselves to any given field after they've done a general global design engineering course. And institutions that are happy to consider them would be anything from Queen Mary on to Hull, Southampton, Nottingham Trent, etc. So the variety of choices after that is quite wide. And lastly, live at TEDI-London. You can see an example of the campus right now. This is how it looks. It's purpose-built in Canada water. It's a beautiful campus. It's trying to be as sustainable as possible. And what always impresses me is how much TEDI-London manages to accomplish with their facilities and how well this environment is divided between students who listen and students who practice in labs. I promised to show you the difference, the journey between KICL, which is our London college, and TEDI-London. The difference here, or the trip, is about 20 minutes. We're about 20 minutes away from each other. This is 2 underground stops, so you just get on the tube and you go straight to Canada Water. You can also take a bus, which is a very nice and picturesque ride, if you ask me. So all of this is incredibly centrally located for those students who want to be in the center of London. In terms of accommodation, TEDI-London doesn't have their own accommodation, but they partner with different accommodation providers. And they do take from private halls of residence. You can see a typical example of a student room from said private halls. And the student hub is something that takes space within TEDI-London main building. They provide student services and support, career support, networking events, and everything that international students might be keen to take part in. TEDI-London students are also given access to King's College London Students' Union, their bars, their clubs, societies, gym, and library, because of the King's College being, of course, one of the co-founders of TEDI-London. They're very much welcome to participate in different social events that are being arranged for King's students. So if this is of interest to your students, it's very much allowed and encouraged. What stands out about TEDI-London's approach? If your student is struggling to decide whether they want this degree or not, there is an opportunity to invite them to the admissions clinics. It's an informal one-on-one chat with an admissions officer. It's not required. It's basically just a suggestion if this could potentially help. There are independent student campus stores arranged quite frequently. Please let us know if you would like us to register your student for one of those stores. On the 24th of June and 15th of July, there are open days on campus. Once again, we would be happy to register your student for one of those so they can view the campus. And there is, of course, a summer school that exists on the territory of TEDI-London. So what is new with the way we promote TEDI-London? There are a few interesting additions. In May, we planned to open up a digital pathway route to TEDI-London. It should be opened for the first intake in autumn 23 and the progression for autumn 24. It is a digital pathway. It's important to reiterate this because the system of what the students study will be similar to the foundation certificate for science and engineering through KICL, but the pathway is digital, so there is no physical presence for the students inside the UK. We have also created a TEDI-London digital media toolkit. This is something that was shared with you, I want to say 10 days ago. If you're missing this, let us know. Your marketing managers will share this with you further. We also have a TEDI-London Discovery Flyer, which is also a relatively new development. You can find it on our download area, or please reach out to your marketing managers. They will share it with you. And we frequently post blog stories about TEDI-London on our Kaplan International Pathway websites in the blog area. So please do look there to be updated on what is happening with TEDI-London. Right, I am conscious that I'm speaking, and I promise not to speak too much, but